We sit comfortably in our seats, sipping coffee, entirely at ease, while cruising at 35,000 feet. Just inches from our faces is a lethal freezing void. It is a hostile territory so extreme that mere seconds of exposure would induce immediate unconsciousness. The only thing separating our pressurized, climate-controlled sanctuary from a violent, explosive decompression is a layered sheet of acrylic. But look closely at this transparent barrier. Right at the bottom of the pane, there is a deliberate, terrifying flaw. A tiny hole. Common sense screams that a hole in an aircraft fuselage is catastrophic. Physics dictates it is the reason we survive. We look at an airplane window and assume it is a single, impenetrable block of solid glass, specifically designed to keep the breathable air inside and the freezing stratosphere securely locked out. Passengers lean their heads against it, sleeping peacefully, completely oblivious to the immense, invisible forces actively trying to rip the aircraft apart from the inside. Directly outside that window, the temperature plunges to -60 degrees Fahrenheit. The atmospheric pressure is barely a quarter of what we experience naturally at sea level. To keep human beings alive, the cabin is artificially pumped full of dense, pressurized air. The entire fuselage becomes a rigid balloon, swelling outward with thousands of pounds of unrelenting force. To understand how this window actually holds together, we must strip it down to its physical layers. On a sterile engineering workbench, we dismantle a practical aircraft window assembly. We quickly discover it is not one thick piece of plastic, but 3 entirely distinct panes of acrylic, each assigned a critical job. The innermost layer, the one our hands touch, is merely a disposable scratch guard. It offers zero structural protection, simply keeping our fingers away from the true mechanical operation. Behind that flimsy scratch guard sits the middle structural pane, and right at its base is where we find our 2mm hole. This tiny aperture acts as a precision breather valve. It continuously bleeds the high-pressure, comfortable cabin air directly into the small, empty interstitial gap between the middle and outer panes. This constant equalization physically shifts the entire burden of pressure outward. Because the air pressure is perfectly equalized across both sides of the middle layer, the thick outer pane is forced to bear the absolute, brutal brunt of the atmospheric differential. When captured on practical macro video under intense laboratory testing, we can actually see this heavy outer acrylic layer physically flexing and bowing outward against the freezing near vacuum of the troposphere. But what happens if that flexing outer pane suddenly shatters? That is the hidden brilliance of the breather hole. By allowing the pressurized air to pass through continuously, it keeps the middle pane completely unloaded, stress-free, and perfectly pristine. It sits quietly in reserve. If the heavy outer barrier ever shatters or fails, the middle pane instantly absorbs the escaping pressure, sealing the cabin tight and giving the pilots critical time to descend. We are trusting our lives not just to the thickness of plastic, but to the meticulous management of empty space. This delicate, invisible balance of mechanical tension is not just an isolated event. It is happening simultaneously across dozens of individual windows lining the curved fuselage of every commercial jet currently in the sky. It is a continuous, relentless thermodynamic engine, silently regulating extreme physical forces through nothing more than a tiny, precision-drilled aperture. Millions of passengers are currently suspended miles above the Earth. Each and every one of them is entirely dependent on this exact microscopic physics equation, working flawlessly thousands of times a day. The structural integrity of modern global aviation does not rely on brute strength alone. It rests entirely on the strategic release of pressure, proving that controlled flexibility is far stronger than absolute, unyielding rigidity. The next time you board a commercial flight and settle into your window seat, look closely past the clouds. Look directly at that tiny, terrifying flaw drilled into the glass. It is no longer a source of instinctual alarm, but a profound symbol of engineered human survival. It is the precise mechanic allowing you to sit peacefully in an environment designed to destroy you. True safety is rarely found in impenetrable walls. It is found in knowing exactly where to let the heavy pressure escape.